Students, welcome to another Mr. Ness screencast. Today's aim is population density. Pause the video, look these questions over, and get ready to copy some vocab terms and take some notes. All right, your first word is ecumene, and this means the portion of the earth that is permanently inhabited by humans. And the ecumene is most of the earth. The places that are not in the ecumene are the oceans, some deserts, and really cold places like Antarctica. And these are places that cannot support permanent human habitation. All right, the rest of this video, we're going to be looking at ways of measuring population density. And your first method of measuring population density is called arithmetic population density. And this is the number of people per area of land, usually measured in square kilometers. And this measurement tells us how crowded a place is. So if arithmetic density is high, that means that there's a lot of people crammed into a small area of land, and it'll feel crowded. And if arithmetic density is low, people are living spread out from one another, and there might even be large areas of land where no one lives at all. So a place with low density, imagine a rural area or maybe an uninhabited place like a desert. All right, take a look at this map, which shows arithmetic densities around the world, and see if you can find some of the places with the highest densities. My eye is drawn to this area, which is northern India, and also over here in coastal China. These are the two regions with the highest arithmetic densities in the world. They're highly urbanized, very crowded areas. What other regions can you identify with high arithmetic density? This map shows arithmetic densities in America, and same question, where do you see the highest densities? There's a few of them scattered around the coasts, and the area with the most density is this whole region along the northeastern seaboard, the East Coast and the northeastern United States. And for many of you watching, that's where you live. That includes New York. And that means that you live in the most crowded part of the US. If you've never traveled outside of this region, you might be surprised to see that most parts of America are not as crowded as this area. By the way, this area we're going to learn about later in the year extends all the way from Boston, Massachusetts, down through New York, through New Jersey, and down to Washington, D.C. And this is one very long, urbanized area with high arithmetic density the entire way. All right, before we look at the next measurement, I want you to know this term, arable land. Arable land means land that can support agriculture. In other words, land that can be farmed. And our next measurement, physiological density, is sometimes also called arable land density. And this is the total number of people per square kilometer of arable land. So physiological density tells us specifically how many people there are in a country compared to how much land there is where food can be grown. And that's telling us how much pressure the population of a country is putting on the land in that country in order to produce food. Today, I think this figure is less important because of the globalization of the food supply. But historically, low physiological densities posed problems that people had to overcome in different ways. And some things that countries have done in the past, if they had low physiological density, were to import their food from trading partners or colonize new lands that had more arable land that they could use, or develop innovative agricultural methods. And today, in addition to Egypt, Egypt is mostly desert, but has a large population. In addition to Egypt, Taiwan and Singapore are some countries with very high physiological densities. And Russia, Canada, and Australia have some of the lowest physiological densities. All right, the last measurement for today is called agricultural density, and this is the number of farmers per square kilometer of arable land. So not the total number of people, but just the number of farmers per square kilometer of arable land. And this figure is telling us how many farmers the arable land has to support. And this is important because it's inversely correlated with levels of development, which means that in general, less developed countries, which have low HDI, have high agricultural density because many people in those countries are working as farmers. But in wealthy countries, on the other hand, countries that have high HDI, agricultural densities are low because machines, rather than farmers, rather than people, are doing a lot of the work. So, for example, the US produces a lot of food every year, even though a very small percentage of the American population are farmers. And in poor countries, more people are subsistence farmers growing food on small farms without the help of huge machinery. And so in those places, there are more farmers and agricultural densities tend to be higher. All right, you just looked at 3 measurements of density. Take a second to distinguish between these and make sure you understand the difference. It's very easy to confuse them. All right, now it's time to review the objectives. If you don't know the answer to any of them, just rewind the video and look again. And I will see you in class. Bye, students.